Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, early evening, well, whatever it is. Happy 4 o'clock. Welcome along to post match reaction, final post match reaction of the season here on the Rangers Rabble podcast. I hope, as ever, that you are all well. I am joined by, Connor and Aldo, apparently. Connor, how are you?
I know bad, aye. Season's done, lads? Happy days. Happy days.
No, the season's done, Connor. Look what it's done to Kenny's hair.
I know. Let's
I was
face
going to
it.
say, I mean, it's threw me off because he's missing the Gregory's there as well.
I know. I've not had time. I've been fighting with the veins, fighting with paddling pools. Doug's trying to jump in, busting it. Everybody going crazy. So this is what happens. This is Raji me.
See, I'm imagining that Martin's blood background is just what you're seeing permanently right now, Kenny.
I'm just lucky you're speaking, Connor. I would think it was somebody else.
Right, before we get into this one then, because there is a couple of incidents, one big incident to discuss, gentlemen. Let's hear what the manager, caretaker, let's hear what Barry Ferguson has got to say on it, and then we'll get into it.
Barry, I draw send that here today. What did you make of that one?
Disappointed to only get a point. I thought we dominated parts of the game, just not ruthless enough, the amount of chances we had. So, yeah, disappointed we finished the season off with a point.
There were obviously some really big talking points in that game. I'll need to ask you about them. Nico's one in particular in the first half. What did you make of that and the decision there?
Baffling why I wasn't given in the first place. And then I don't want to get myself in trouble, but that can't be happening in football. It was just a ridiculous decision. It was clearly over the line. When I went and seen it, I seen it as the incident happened. I seen it at half time and I seen it after the game, and my mind's not changed. It's certainly a goal.
Yeah, obviously, it's such a big moment in the game there as well when they get their equaliser, when it could have been 2-0.
Yep, exactly. It changes the dynamic of the game. But also within that, even when they get back to one each, we still have a lot of chances, and we've got to be, as I say, more ruthless when we get into that final third.
Yeah, what did you make of the second half? What did you say to the players at half time? Is it hard to maybe after a decision like that not get in the players' heads, or how's that?
Well, you can't let it affect you. I said that to them, but I wanted them to be more careful on the ball. We're a bit wasteful at times when we get into good positions. And then when we relax a wee bit and we have a bit of calmness on the pitch, we're a much better football team. So, yeah, disappointed because it was there. The game was there for us to win. And, yeah, you want to win it in a positive note.
In terms of these last few months for you, how have you found them? Is it possible to sum them up at all?
No, it's been an amazing journey for me. It's been a proud moment, not just for myself, but my family and my friends. And, I've loved every single minute of it. I've tried to make a difference, should I say. I think I have. So we'll just need to wait and see what happens over the coming days.
Yeah, how have you found working with the group of players? Because obviously you knew them sort of from a distance, I suppose. Well, not too far a distance, but you knew them from a distance. Then you've come in and worked with them here and probably saw a bit more from them as well.
Yeah, look, one thing about the players that they've given me 100%. It's obviously different to the way they were playing before. They've had to take a lot of information, and it's no ideal when you're coming in at that stage with only 3 months to go as the season ends. You want to spend the full of pre-season and kind of work up to what way you want to play, be a bit flexible in your formation. So, yeah, one thing about them is they've given me everything. The quality at times has to be better. I can't hide away from that. And we need to get better going forward because we need to be challenging and winning trophies. That's what this club's built on. And hopefully next season that can be started the process.
Right, before we get into the obvious, right, I actually want to pick up on something because I think it's more important, well, maybe not quite as important as the scandalous decision, as Barry calls it, right? But I want to pick up on this first, Kenny. He says, he's enjoyed it, he's loved doing what he's doing, and that he feels that he's made a real difference. Has he?
He's made a difference. He has made a difference. The home form has been a shocker for me. It's not really changed much, but he has made a difference. He did steady it slightly compared to the absolute show that we had when Clement was in charge. I would say that it's highlighted problems with playing staff if they boys kind of get a tune at them a lot of the times. I mean, look at the Old Firm games. He's been fine. The home form has been drastic, but it has been stop-start for a few seasons anyway. So yeah, he done what he came to do. He got us kept in second, European places. Do I think he's the manager for Rangers Football Club? No. You've got to step up and get somebody who's won leagues, won trophies, or at least been fighting in A positions and seen some real. I mean, he's no silly, right? If he gets the appointment, he'll probably be, dare I say it, kissing a Blarney stone. No, is that the wrong one? Wrong podcast? He'll be counting his chickens, right? He will. He'll know. No. I don't think he. I think about 60% he knows he's not getting it, but that 40% still the blue tinted glasses thinking that he might. But we need somebody else in there because he's made a difference to stabilise, but he's not made a difference to elevate. If that's maybe a better word. So for me, yeah, he has made a slight difference. He has got them fighting a bit harder. He has seen some good football. Home form is a bit off, but for me, Barry's not made that big of an impact that he can run Rangers for long term.
Well, Connor, it's interesting. John Hall's saying yeah for the worse. And our own AJ saying the difference as he made things worse, surely, like you said, the home form. So what's your take on
it? Well, I think saying he made things worse is. I'm not sure how fair that is. You know, it's easy to label that at him, but let's not kid ourselves on here. When you talk about the home form, Philippe Clement was sacked because in his last 2 home games he lost to Queen's Park and St Mirren. You know, and so with due respect, it's not like Philippe Clement was pulling the trees up with his home form. And there was nothing at that time that would have led us to believe that Philippe Clement would have got any better results than what Barry got against Motherwell or against Hibs, because it had fallen off a cliff. Rangers don't usually lose games of football at home very often, and they certainly don't lose games against St Mirren at home or Motherwell or Hibs. But the last 2 years in a row, we did lose to Motherwell 2 years in a row at home under Clement. You know, his home record up until the Queen's Park game was good. We had, drawn one game domestically, but won every other game at home. And then the Queen's Park game came in. I think that's what threw it off a cliff, because I don't think the players recovered for that mentally, which is wrong, because they should have been desperate to get back out in the pitch at Ibrox at that time to put it right and put the next team that came to Ibrox straight to the sword. That should have been the reaction. That should have been what we got. It wasn't what we got. And I'm not so sure that you can say that's Barry's fault. It was well and truly going off a cliff before he got there. Now, did he make it better? Not really. No. There was 1 or 2 games that you could make a case that we might not have won or took anything from without Barry getting tore into them and tail strips after them at half time. You look at the Kilmarnock game, if you're 2-0 down, we win that 4-2. Dundee, again, away at Dens Park, you're 2-0 down and then you're 3-1 down, and we came back and won that game 4-3. I don't know if that would or wouldn't have happened with Clement. We can't answer those questions because we'll never know the answer. But he didn't really make things better, no. I'm also a bit confused when he says that the players gave him everything, because how many post-matches did they come out and say that he was giving the players instructions and they weren't listening? So that those two don't really tally up with each other. My fear though, Martin, is that what's happening now is exactly what I was worried about happening when Barry got the job. If you come on, that some of the fans started to turn on Barry Ferguson, and I think that for me. Look, these results as the manager of Rangers Football Club speak for themselves. They weren't good enough. We will always be grateful for the Fenerbahce result. He did get past Jose Mourinho. That's a hell of a notch for him to have on his CV. Brendan Rodgers didn't beat Barry Ferguson in the 2 games they came head to head against each other. So there are some positives he can take from his time. But, you can't, people jumping on the bandwagon at slating Barry all the time. It was my fear. The guy, regardless of this managerial stint, Barry Ferguson is still a club legend and he deserves the respect that comes along with that, in my opinion, irrespective of these results. The league was done before Barry Ferguson came in the door. Did some of the performances get worse? Absolutely. The home form was unacceptable. Nobody's disputing that. I'm not disputing that. But if anybody here wants to tell me that would have been any different with Clement still in charge, then by all means, but we all wanted him out. And the solution when Clement was sacked was always going to be an interim basis manager. It just always was. And whoever that was, I don't think was going to do much of a better job.
I don't think it was always that. I think if we knew then what we know now with regards to a takeover, I think then we would have all went, yeah, it's going to be a temporary manager or a stand-in coach until such times as the takeover's completed. Had there not been a takeover on the horizon that at that point we knew nothing about, the board would have went out and just hired a manager.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. We can't answer questions.
Our current board don't have the foresight to think up something as technical as let's get a temporary coach in and we'll get a new manager at the end of the season and have a real proper think about it. Our current board aren't as football savvy as that.
And you might be right, but they had made that same call twice and it didn't work. So it might be that they would have taken a different tack. Look, at the end of the day, the takeover is coming. It is happening. But it would have been the current board that are in situ at the moment who made the decision, Patrick Stewart and co. It was them that made the decision to hire Barry Ferguson, not the 49ers. That decision was made with them in mind, I'm sure, but ultimately that's who made it. Look, you can go around the houses, but the reality is this season as a whole was nowhere near the standard or the level that it needs to be at for Rangers Football Club. Yes, we can look at some things and say, well, is it harsh that we end the season without a trophy? I think when you look at decisions that went against us in the League Cup final, it's harsh because I think at the very least we should have had that. But equally, we conceded 3 goals in that game because our defending wasn't good enough. You know what I mean? So that's about as close as we came. At the end of the day, we just have to live with the fact that that's what's happened. I think Barry's come in. I think he's done the best he could do, but it's not been anywhere near good enough.
I hate this chair. I absolutely hate this chair. I keep sliding off it. No, look, I broadly agree with you, Connor, to be honest. And Kenny, I'm not putting off talking about the incident, right? Because we'll probably be on that for about half an hour, right? But Rangers in the league this season, 7 losses, 9 draws, and only a plus 39 goal difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Celtic in the league this season, 4 losses, 5 draws, plus 86 goal difference.
Mm-hmm.
That shows you the difference between the two teams. That shows you where it's went wrong. That shows you what's not good enough. That shows you what needs to change.
There's always truth in everything you're saying, right? Just like when Gilly said that when Thorwell was getting hired, that we only knew about it when we knew about it. Exactly the same as the takeover. I'm not into this, they were going to do it. I agree with Martin a wee bit because I do honestly think that they knew that sniffing about. There was questions getting asked about these guys and there was feelers put out because they're all businessmen to see whether this was real or not. Once they clocked there might be legs in this, they've put Barry in. Yes, it was the current board that made the decision, but they made the decision not to say, let's have a good think about it. No, they were thinking, let's have a good think and see what this is going to come with these Americans. So they've tried to get to the end of the season. Listen, we only know what we know. Rangers used to be phenomenal at telling the press zip and then telling you 2 days when we signed somebody or whatever else. This is happening now because it was quiet. And I do believe that Barry was coming in, not because they were getting somebody in at the end of the season. I totally agree that if Clement gets sacked and they had no wind of any takeover, we'd have had a permanent manager put in place right then. We didn't have any money. We didn't have any money. So whether you brought McInnes in or anybody that was a dumpling, our board would have brought in Mr. Bean, but they'd have still brought him in when they needed him when they sacked Clement. They get wind of this takeover, 100% they did. I mean, businessmen don't deal with these sizable things in months and it's like months and months down the line. It's been tiptoed in the water, asked about, somebody's get wind of it, whatever else. Yeah, they did. They brought Barry Ferguson in. I think Barry was getting into a thing where you were, I mean, I know folk are saying Alloa, Kelty Hearts and whatever else, but you could have brought in an Alex Neil, right? And he still wouldn't have got in and out the players.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly believe that, truly in my heart. He's not even a cracking manager who would maybe be a bit higher up in Barry's managerial career. He's better than him. You're still not going to. You can't get a tune out of somebody who's not willing to have the heart and determination to play for the badge alone. And we've only got 4 or 5 that are willing to do that. So the rest of them are letting the team down, letting the manager down, and letting us fans down. And look how many managers we're going through, and how many. Clement spent a bit of money. Let's not be kidded. Right, and there is players in there, but they were always going to be development. And because we ended up with no money, they became first team regulars, and they've had to hit the ground hard and running hard. It's no fair to scalp Barry in the face with it, because they knew that he would come in and take it. Was he the right man? Probably no. There's probably a lot of out of work managers that would have took that, but he took it because he done an Alan McCoist. He went, my heart's beating blue. I'm going to take it. I'll get a tune at these idiots. Blah 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 blah. They've got in there, they've started playing with the players, they've started working with them every day. And I think the way Clement came out in an interview, Barry and Neil and all that started seeing that they couldn't put their finger on it either, of why these players couldn't do a consistent run, or why they couldn't play consistently if they'd already maybe won 2 in a row, and then they go out and gets draw or get bet or whatever. Even Barry and the team started seeing what the other managers had possibly seen, that this has been an almost, dare you say it, deep-rooted problem. A lot further back than just squads and teams and scouting and medical staff and all the rest of it. It's a huge problem at Rangers. It's not a Barry Ferguson problem at Rangers. And I do think that it's a shame to ask a legend like that to come in and try and turn that round about, and even him and his staff, who are all winners, who are all getting in with the right things, and you've started to see players that are actually starting to believe in themselves a lot more. That's what he did do. But they can't be consistent because other players are letting them down at the crucial moments. So I'm not hanging it under Barry. Yes, of course he was always going to get it a wee bit more wrong than right because of his managerial experience. However, I do believe that the board made the decision purely on, as usual, money in their own pocket, because they thought this was coming, and say, well, we'll get him at the end of the season, see what happens. That'll give us a few months to see. And if it didn't materialise, then they've got the fallback to say, well, we tell them out there and the fans that we're actually doing this just to get to the end of the season to get the right manager. So it's a win-win for these crafty little Muppets. And I think they've won it. Honestly, I think they've done it again. They've blew us away again with a lot of crap. And realistically, they wanted to get Barry in, give him a few months, while they're seeing if this thing's going to grow legs. If it doesn't, then they've got the few months to start sniffing about managers that are going to cost them next to nothing, try and get them in and all that. So I think the board have done us an awful sneaky turn in both regards, in my view.
Can I just say a massive thank you to Stephen 1977, who, if that is correct, is a lot older than me, which makes me feel young, which makes me feel happy. So thank you, Stephen, for joining as a YouTube member, which you can do right now for the small sum of £1.99 per month, where you get your Tuesday night live show, all your watch-alongs, Q&As, exclusive interviews, etc., 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 and you help support the Rangers Rabble podcast, especially during the off-season. So we need all the support we can get. So links for that are in the description. Go and check it out. See if it's something that you fancy. Right, Connor. We could sit here and go, how good was that? 2 minutes in, we get a goal. Cyril Dessers scoring. And then, Nico Raskin pops up with a goal. Oh, wait a minute. Okie dokie. Hold on. We should have been 2-0 up. Not the manager's fault for today. Connor, we should have been 2-0 up. Please explain why we weren't.
I wish I could. I honestly do, but I really don't know. I've seen it back multiple times, a couple of different angles of it as well, as you can imagine. I don't get how on earth that goal doesn't get given. I really, really don't. And I'm listening to fucking some people, Mikey Stewart on Sports Sound defending the referees for that decision. How can you defend that? Saying, I think it is a goal, but I can understand why the officials didn't think it's a goal, because at the end of the day, that's not the officials today. That's just about the lack of the tools that we've got to use it. And you go, but you don't need that there. He's saying he doesn't think there's conclusive proof that it's over that, but there is conclusive, but it's clearly over that. I don't know how much more proof. For a start,
I think what he means, Connor, is there's no conclusive proof because it's Rangers. That's what
well,
Michael means.
it's clearly, but that's the problem. You know, Rocky Bashiri is in the back of the net when he clears it. I don't know how much more evidence you need, but then when you see the angles, I mean, you've got the linesman who's the most responsible because he's looking right across the line at that. He has to see that that's over the line because he must see the ball through the netting. So how do you know? I don't get it. I really don't. It's such a terrible decision. And the issue is, as always happens, because it's a decision that went against Rangers, we'll get slated for complaining about it. The club did release a statement, and fair play, but they'll get slated for that. You know what will happen? They'll all come out the word, oh, it's Statement FC again. It's really not, because one of the sources of frustration with the board is they don't come out making up fucking statements at times when they have to. The fact of the matter is, that is woeful refereeing, woeful for VR, because they didn't, they allowed the Hibs goal to stand because they said it was inconclusive. I mean, Martin, they've had goal-line technology down south for a decade. Every other major league in Europe has goal-line technology. Is there any good reason why we don't have goal-line technology at this? It's 2025 and we still don't have goal-line technology. We've got VAR, which apparently is useless for those situations. So why on earth do we not have goal-line technology? I mean, goal-line technology is actually cheaper than VAR, apparently, because that's why it was first implemented. That's why it was implemented first in all these leagues. So I just don't get why we don't have it. But the fact is,
you would need to ask Aberdeen and Celtic because they parried up, didn't they, and stopped anything for changing in Scottish football.
Pal, yeah. Surprise, eh? They seem to always just parry up with each other. That's why Aberdeen this season have been pumped 5-1, 5-1, 6-0 half Celtic, because that's just what happens. But the reality is that you need, if you're not going to have goal-line technology, then you need your linesman to do his job. You need VAR to help them out as a last line of defence. None of that
VAR has jumped in on goal line decisions this season.
It has done, yeah. Today they didn't because they said there's no conclusive proof. And yet, let me ask you this question, right? And again, no reason to complain about it because we all agreed with it at the time. But how could they find conclusive proof that the ball was over the line when Raskin cut it back for Igaman against Aberdeen, but they can't find conclusive proof that the ball was over the line for the goal today for Raskin, because they're both just as much over the line as each other. That's where the frustration is really felt, and the fact that we should have been 2-0 up and we find ourselves one each is ridiculous. And some people might say, well, Raskin should have just booted it in anyway when he's running instead of letting it roll in, but he thinks he's scored. He's entitled to go and celebrate what he knows is a goal. Sometimes the player reaction tells you, by the way. I just think it's an absolute disgrace. And I think it needs a serious examining. I think Nick Walsh needs looking at over the summer. He's been involved in far too many poor decisions this season. Not just poor decisions, disgraceful decisions. And I'm not talking about just against Rangers, by the way. In case that's what people think. Across the board this season, Nick Walsh, I don't think anybody's been involved in more controversial and terrible decisions than he has, whether it's the penalty kick that relegated St Johnstone, by the way, last week, or midweek there, and when it was never a penalty kick. The St Johnstone boys being pulled, the Dundee players being pulled back, he's falling backwards with his arms in the air, then his own defender heads it off his hand to a yard away. He is the one that awards that penalty kick. Despite people saying, but VAR could have done this, I don't care. He awarded that penalty kick. He's the one that sent Diamande off against Dundee United, despite being sent to the monitor and being told repeatedly by Don Robertson and VAR, it doesn't tick any of the boxes, Nick, it's not a red card, and he just sticks with it anyway. So I'm sorry, but Willie Collum needs to be pulling Nick Walsh into his office and having serious conversations with him in the summer, because if that's our top official, which we're constantly told it is, Martin, that is nowhere near the standard. It's nowhere near good enough.
I'll come back to the decision in a second, Kenny. I want to follow up on that point about Nick Walsh. Is Nick Walsh now? I mean, let me ask you it this way: how many times this season have we spoke about Kevin Clancy? Not much. Not really mentioned him, have we? I don't think so. Is Nick Walsh now the worst top flight official in Scotland.
No, in their eyes, it's no. And that's what's worrying everybody, what Connor says. We keep hearing all the superlatives about this guy. He keeps getting the big games. Even when he makes a right arse of things, he still gets ended up blowing the whistle for some other really important game, like he was saying St Johnstone and things like that. You know what? We kind of get fed up trying to sound as if we're conspiracy theorists, but see when you've got 100% proof, again, take the goal. You know, you don't need VAR for that. You need refereeing or a decent linesman tells you that's in all day long. The full stadium, and including the Hibernian end, knew that was a goal. Because you watch the reaction from the Hibernian players, you know it's a goal. It's all this, we're a laughing stock, Martin. We're honestly, I mean, I've got mates in London and that, and they, honestly, they think we get our games an absolute tractor league. They just think it's absolute rubbish. And by the way, it's not for the football, it's for the officiating, it's for the decision making, it's for how long it takes for anything. I mean, it was a game a couple of weeks ago we watched, and it took them just over 4.5 minutes to decide whether it was a free kick or not, and the guy was down there with his shin guard cracked in two, and you're thinking to yourself, how can that possibly not be a decision in 2 seconds for any referee or linesman? Everybody bottles it now, especially with Rangers. They absolutely bottle it. If there's a decision to be made, they're all looking at each other to see who's going to give it and who's not going to give it. They make a complete arse of it every single time. I'm fed up with us getting the brunt of it and the wrong end of the stick, to be fair. And again, it sounds one-sided, but see if you had to sit down with the majority of the SPFL teams right now and asked how many decisions per year, per maybe 6 months, 4 months, how many decisions they've had that's went against them, you can be damn sure they would have, I don't know, maybe 12, 15 incidents they could place in your lap each up here. And it's not just a Rangers problem, I think it's a league problem. I think that everybody's starting to get fed up with this, and it's becoming a real problem because financially for some of the clubs, if they go down, that championship's not easy to get out of. And if you're going down with a rash decision, e.g. your St Johnstone's and stuff like that, then you don't know if the guys are going to make it back up the first time round, which is a hell of an impact on their financials. So it's not just about Rangers to me for this. This is a big, big growing problem that's been there for a good maybe 2 years. But Walsh, I actually don't know who's speaking to this guy and telling him it was everybody else's fault and get him another game. I don't understand how VAR, we dragged them through the coals the last time they made an arse of this and it was proven wrong. Surely, if any club they're not wanting to make an arse of on is ours because of the amount of, I mean, that one, the last one was an absolute atrocity. It was everywhere. How bad it was on the papers, it was everywhere. But yet, here we go again. And you can only think to yourself, is it blatant? That's the only logical explanation you're trying to get to yourself. If everybody in the stadium knows it, if the Hibs player knows it's a goal, the Rangers players know it's a goal, all the supporters...
Hibs commentary actually said, we get away with that.
Yeah.
That tells you need to know it, doesn't it? The Hibs commentary will say the same thing, you know?
It's a farce. It's a complete farce. So, but again, we can sit here and talk to our purple, but nothing ever gets done unless you change boardroom or management level of refereeing associations, which isn't going to happen anytime soon.
Do you know what I found alarming as well, though, Martin? And I think it's really telling. You've played the short clip there of Barry's comments, but there was also a press conference after that Barry attended, and he expanded further. And he was asked about, in fact, I think he was asked in that interview as well, about did he speak to Nick Walsh or anything like that. And what alarms me is Barry saying that, our fourth official was brand new and that was 5 weeks down, but Nick, he'll not talk to us. Who the fuck does Nick? I'm sorry, but who does Nick Walsh actually think he is?
Correct.
But we know, and Willie Collum knows this, and he'll have told him this as well. Across all leagues of football, right? They always say to managers and players that don't surround the ref on the park. You'll speak to the managers after the game. Well, then, if the manager traps your door as a referee, you have a duty to speak to him. You can't just ignore him. That's a disgrace for Nick Walsh as well. I mean, who does he think he is to be twat? At the end of the day, Barry Ferguson, as the manager of Rangers Football Club, is entitled to a conversation with the referee to say, hey, what happened there, Gav? What's that all about? Do you know what I mean? Why did that decision get made? Because he's entitled to that answer. The fact that
he's definitely got wee man syndrome, Nick Walsh.
He does, but Barry said it was the fourth official, who, by the way, was Matthew McDermott today. he spoke to Barry. He says he was brand new. And see, to be fair to Matthew McDermott, and he's made some howls as well. He's a better official than Nick Walsh.
Mm-hmm.
And he seems, for what I've seen, and I've seen him both in person at games and on the telly, he seems more approachable. Even when you hear some of his VAR audio back, he doesn't just fucking palm people off. He will speak to players and he will speak to the captains or the managers. That's what you should do as a referee. That's good officiating. But for Nick Walsh, according to Barry Ferguson at least anyway, for Nick Walsh to not speak to our manager after a decision like that, absolute disgraceful behaviour.
Can I just jump in with that, by the way? Can I just jump in with that, if that's all right, Connor?
You're making my job easy, carry on.
Aye, see in the Premier League, Connor, right? You know that yourself. It's a part of your job to talk to the press at the end of the game as a manager. I think that would be brilliant to bring that in for the refereeing at the end of the game to the manager. It's compulsory that they need to go into a room and explain dodgy decisions. So they've not got a choice anymore. The body makes it so. But we've got a body that won't even entertain that. The Premier League, part of your contract as a manager, you have got to go and speak to the press at the end. So if we'd done that with the referees, I mean, especially up here, there's nobody to hide then. So you need to go out and explain what it is we just saw. A wee guy like that telling a manager, as you say, Connor, as a football club your size, is a joke. You know, you can't just run in a room and shut the door and go out the back window. That's just unbelievable. And he's Mr. Bean motoring away up the road.
I don't like the idea that he goes with Mr. Bean car.
It's wee Teddy sitting in the thing.
You can absolutely see him driving that. But
definitely.
I mean, Kenny Barry's saying, I don't want to get myself into trouble. Van Barry, I mean, obviously that tells me that there's a small part of his brain that still thinks there's a possibility he can get the Rangers job, right?
Aye.
But I'm also thinking to myself, it's the last game of the season, Barry. Come on, there's no chance you're getting this job. Absolutely go both barrels and go straight through them. Because in Barry's own words, and we'll talk about John Brown in a second, but in Barry's own words, Kenny, that can't happen in a game. That just can't happen.
No, old Barry 4-4-2 I thought would have happened, mate. Just as you say, last game of the season, get the Alamo going, just get right in about them. Two up top, you know, smother out the mid, four at the back, all that kind of stuff. But again, it was all this trying to, don't worry, I'm saying that right, don't worry. I mean, we had enough balls whacked into that box. If we had a number 9 Fox in the box, would I at least get some chances in there? We had enough chances to bury that game. So there's no excuse apart from the fact that the finishing for Cherney was a bit poor. Some of the balls into the box, Dessers wasn't in about the middle, and he scored a good goal, right? That's fine. But the Fox in the box type of stuff is maybe where 4-4-2 benefits your McCoy's, Hateley's, all that kind of stuff. Aye, the play down the left wing for, with the two Cadden boys and what's the fella, Martin Boyle. I'm telling you now, I'm fed up talking on this show about him. I don't understand how we're after a winger that can destroy teams in, season out. Martin Boyle obliterates teams. He went to the World Cup, played amazing. So I don't understand how we set a team up like that, and then after the first half, you could see it starting to spread down the wings. You could see they were destroying us down there, overlapping and things like that. And me proper in the middle, I was absolutely bottling it the way it was going, because if they get by the wing, the left and the right back, the ball's only coming one way, and we had the boy in the middle who was making a right knob himself as usual. So yeah, you can't do that. That's the reason I think Barry will not get the job, because that's down to set up and thinking on your feet and thinking these wingers are destroying us down here. We need to maybe get somebody in to play as a kind of sweeper almost, or maybe pull out a bit tighter at one side. And that's why I think that possibly the reason Barry won't get it full time is just because sometimes you're not thinking on your feet quick enough. But
he was right. He was right though, Kenny, in what he was saying about the decision, that that can't happen. There is 100%. No circumstance where that can happen, which is his way of underhandedly saying something's not right here.
What you may say, I mean, it's going to get to the stage where you're just going to have to come out and say, I mean, Rangers will go through the proper channels, Martin, I think, you know what I mean? They'll start to ask what the question was, because, again, I'll say it again, the last decision that caused newspaper headlines, we all thought, and I'm sure the three of us all thought, that this is never going to happen again against us because of the shitstorm we caused with the mess of it. But now, again, it's been overlooked in everybody in a VAR room and a referee. Nobody wanted to take the balls to say, that's a goal. And now we find ourselves with managers having to watch what they're saying. I'm not want to get into trouble. And But Barry's 100% right to do what he done. I would have preferred him just to go at, is this a setup? Right out it, because there's something's got to give, boys. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's a laughing stock.
Yeah. And I just point out as well, Martin, that we have finished this season with just one penalty.
Yeah.
One penalty. They've had the most penalties, or the joint most, I think it is, with 7 or 8. We've conceded, is it 3 or 4? Again, I'm not saying those are wrong decisions. I wouldn't be doing that, because I would have to go through them all and look again. I couldn't possibly tell you that. But I think it highlights that what has happened is that we'll remember in the last couple of years there has been an inordinate amount of pressure put upon the officials and the SFA from one club in particular, in the main, but not just them, a couple of other clubs and people within the media as well. People like Richard Gordon writing silly articles that make no sense, that have, I think, put undue pressure on officials to the point now where they're more inclined to not give a decision Rangers way than to actually give it for us, because how much pressure has been put on them. Think of the Slaytons have had the penalty to Rangers, for example. People moaning about the fact that we had went on a record run without conceding a penalty kick. So what? I'm sorry, but what is your point? Because the reality was that at that time, part of the reason for that was that came off the back of us having an unbeaten league season, right? We spent most of our time in the opposition's half and in the opposition's box. You can't get a penalty kick if you're defending in your own box, right? You can't. Mm-hmm. Now, am I sitting here saying at no point throughout that period of time should there have been a penalty win against us? Absolutely not. I'm sure there was maybe 1 or 2 decisions that we got away with. That happens in football. It really does. But they were making out like there was every single week there was a penalty decision. We should have conceded penalties. And that wasn't true. Simply wasn't. And then when we did concede a penalty in the Scottish Cup against Hearts, I think it was the semi-final, we were 3-0 up at the time, so it was inconsequential to the game. They scored the penalty, it was 3-1. But that was discounted and disregarded by all these folk who were putting the pressure on, because it didn't cost us the game. So they basically went, well, that didn't really count as conceding a penalty because you didn't concede the goal. For me, that's a problem. I can accept other football clubs doing it, because you know what? That's part of the game. It's part of the game that you all play when it's rivals, right? Do I agree with it? No, but it is what it is. But it hasn't just been that. There has been media pressure put by certain corners, not all, but by certain corners, on officials when it comes to decision making around Rangers, and we're starting to see the fruits of that this season. That's why we've had 1 penalty all season, and you can't tell me that we should have only had 1, because there's a few I can think off the top of my head we should have got. That's why we've had decisions in a League Cup final that is so obviously a penalty not given. That's why that decision today, it's not about a conspiracy. I don't think it's a conscious thing. I just think that there has been a fear now instilled in the SFA and in the officials in this country to give decisions in Rangers' favour, because they know the media shitstorm that's going to hit them if they do.
Well, that should maybe turn then in the next few years. It's cyclical, isn't it? I just like to use that word whenever I can. Cyclical is a good word. Kenny, John Brown, I know that obviously you probably wouldn't have heard this, I don't think, in commentary on our TV. Not verbatim, but basically said that when we should have got the goal, that we didn't get the goal, that it was corrupt. Tom Miller's response was, "Well, I don't think we can say that." To which John Brown's response is, "Well, I can." Right? So fair play to John Brown. That's the first time. I mean, I think Rangers will probably get into some trouble for that, to be honest. But fair play to John Brown speaking his mind.
You're right. It's not a 4th time. You know what I mean? Also the one where Bowie scored as well. He was writing about it, but offside and all that, and says this
it's
is
the last time we'll be on Rangers TV, but
I would give him the full microphone, man. I'd give him the headset and everything. He's brilliant. I mean, you get the amount of viewers you'd get for him doing the commentating would be class.
He's welcome on this show anytime.
I was going to say, get him on here. The good thing about it is, as I just said there under the radar there, boo-hoo, Rangers get a wee bit into trouble. So what? Enjoy it while it lasts, guys. I'll tell you that now. So I hope when we do get took over and we end up with some major lawyers in there that everybody will be quaking. He opened their mouth once. And I do think he was right. The Bowie goal, yep, there was plenty of rubbish offsides and stuff like that. It is corrupt. It's blatant. And it's becoming farcical. And for anybody that loves football, the league has turned into this shit show of refs and mistakes. And VAR was meant to help, but what it's done is made most referees not want to make an actual decision on something that is important, whether it's a penalty or a free kick or one outside the box was in the box or a goal line clearance or an offside that led to a goal or whatever else. It seems to me that they all wait for everybody else to make the decision for them in each way. But today, mate, that was a joke. And I think if that was against any other club in any podcast, they'd be saying we want folks dragged over the coals for that. And unfortunately for Rangers, we'll get the usual bullshit about, well, you know, there was an inconclusive angle or whatever else crap we've heard already. But you're live on the telly, so now we've got to believe that our eyes don't walk. So we must all walk about blind. It must be blind football. It must be a bell in that football. None of us must see anything. So this is getting how stupid. This is getting now that we're allowed to say now that our eyes don't work properly. Not nobody, thousands of folk, because the telly is lying to you. So it's absolutely crazy to me.
Can I just apologise to everybody there who had to see Trev's face?
He's also wearing the same cap as me, Martin. What's that all about?
It's disgusting, Connor. It's absolutely disgusting. He's upgrading my computer.
Off, right? Martin's in Trev's loft. He's been there all day, Kenny.
Yes,
He's not getting that's it.
Oh my God, you see the little character.
I managed to escape his loft just before the reaction, so it's all right. No, he's upgrading my computer, so I need to do it for Trev.
I think it's important, right? Kevin Wilson is taking real issue with us here. Saying that having one penalty isn't the reason we finished second. What is it with the excuses? And then he's followed that up. What's with the excuses? We're just not good enough, and John Brown will get sacked for that. Kevin, with the greatest respect, mate, you are not going to find anybody on here, and I don't think any of us have, that are making any excuses for the shit show of a season we have had.
No.
Not one of us here are saying that the referees are the reason we finished second. Well, not because it's far from it. There are 100 reasons we finished second. The referees are rock bottom of the list, quite frankly. So it's not about making excuses. What we are doing is simply highlighting something that is becoming a real problem. And it cannot just be ignored. You can't just sit on your resting your laurels, not say anything, because it's so bad.
So blatant.
And within the landscape of Scottish football at the moment, it isn't being called out enough. And by the way, if you tune into the Scottish Football Show, you'll hear me and the guys call it out there as well when it happens to other teams. We always do, because you've got to. So I get your point, but nobody's making excuses for how poor our season's been. We're just simply highlighting the fact that the officials...
No, you've got to highlight the mistakes, and the big mistakes. You've got to highlight them, because other people do, other teams do, and quite rightly so. And sometimes other teams highlight stuff that isn't quite worth highlighting. But we shall move on. I'm going to bring up some super chats in a wee sec. Just before I do, let's get some positivity, Connor, shall we? Obviously, a nice wee early goal for Dessers. Dessers now finishes as top goal scorer in Scotland for this season. Is Connor froze, Kenny, or is that just his face?
No, he's doing a Paddy McGuinness advert, isn't he?
That's what he's doing, isn't he?
He's turned
it
like
that. You can't see me. You can't see me. So I'll go with you on this then, Kenny, while Connor sorts out his face, right? Dessers top goal scorer in Scotland, mate. Nice wee early goal for him. The much maligned Cyril Dessers. Thoughts?
What way did I look that way? Whoa, hey. See if he joins you and Trevor in that background, I'm off.
It's just that you're terrified now to talk about Dessers.
No, actually, see if it was Morelos, the very sentence used to be, where would we have been in the league if we took Morelos' goals away? Same, I'll say, about Dessers. I'm a bit sceptical about Dessers, obviously, but I am not going to be sceptical this season for the numbers. You cannot argue with these numbers, right? There's no other striker in there that's done the same as he's done, and that's in the full league. So that's after him. That's after him. Do you know what I mean? Again, where would we have been if we didn't have those type of numbers proper goals. So it's ridiculous. As Aldo's put up there 51 goals in 2 seasons, and we're about to get rid of him.
29 goals this season in 55 games.
So we've got it wrong, right? We've got it wrong. There's a hell of a lot happening round about. Doesn't become? I mean, they're singing and dancing about your boy for Celtic, who's done really well this year, and all the rest at Maeda, whatever his name is. So you can't ignore Dessers' numbers, because if you do, you're just no looking at the right way. He's a machine. He has been a machine this year. He scored when we really, really needed him to. Yes, he does miss loads and loads of goals, but we'll go back over again and over again at the strikers of old, who used to miss loads of chances but scored loads of goals. One Ben Alan McCoy's, Chrissy Boyd, let's keep going. So hats off to him, mate. Hats off to him. It's a wee positive that we've got the leading goal scorer in the league plays in a blue top, which is unusual for where we are.
RFC 72 Connor saying the majority of his goals came when nothing has been on the line. How many did he get when we needed them? I mean, look, is that fair, Connor? Top goal scorer in Scotland, 29 goals, 55 games. Does he not deserve some credit?
He does, and I think that's totally unfair to say that all his goals came when it didn't matter. That's because that's not true. In the grand scheme of things, yeah, we haven't won anything, but in those moments, I mean, how many times has he scored against Celtic this season? He's been on the score sheet in those games. Those goals matter. He scored a leveller down at Old Trafford that should have got us a point, and the only reason it didn't had nothing to do with him and had everything to do with us falling asleep. Specifically, I think Jeff it was at the back post falling asleep, and allowing them that goal at the end with a free kick. Those are important goals in the context of a season. He scored other goals in Europe this year as well, which every goal you score in Europe is important to get you through. Domestically, again, as I say, he has scored. Against Celtic, he scored goals in the run to the League Cup final as well. Am I going to sit here and pretend he's world class? No, I've never done that. But I'm sorry, this is nonsense to me that there are some people, in my opinion, who will never give Dessers any credit for anything because they've decided that they just intensely dislike him so much that they're not interested in paying him that compliment when he's done something. He's the top goal scorer, Martin. That in the league, the top goal scorer. That is impressive.
Can we give Connor?
He has scored 50 goals in 2 seasons for Rangers. He has got there so much more quick than Alfredo Morelos, because it took Morelos 3 seasons to get 50. You have to give him credit for that. I think
can we be giving players credit, Connor, but when we've not won anything, it feels as though there's a stigma.
Is that Cyril Dessers' fault though? Can we sit here and say conclusively Cyril Dessers is the reason we didn't win the league this year?
I'm just simply asking, and Kenny, I'll take it to you as well. Can players get any sort of credit? I mean, it's all right to give Raskin credit for playing well, and I do want to speak about Raskin. It's all right to give him credit, Kenny, and say, well, we need to build a team around him, we need to do this, we need to do that. And if you say, oh, Raskin played well, nobody's really in the comments saying, how can you say that? We've not won anything. But the minute you say anything positive about Cyril Dessers, not just our comments, but just social media in general, is about we've not won anything.
Yes, he's changed. Listen, I was a guy who was going, oh my God, what we're doing with this donkey and all the rest of it. He's changed my mind, right? And I'll tell you, I'm going to agree with Connor. I'm going to go with Connor and say the same thing he's saying there. So there's loads of stats about what he misses and whatever else. And there was a comment there that said, but he must be in the positions to miss the chances and then he is scoring. So I'd rather him having chances than no. But the big one would be what would the stat be for when Dessers scores and the defence let him down? I would like to see that stat for the full season, because that's a very, very valid point, Connor. If he scored, and how many times has the defence allowed another 2 in, but he's doing his job, but then all of it gets forgot about because we only scored 1, but the defence let in 2. So a guy put up there, I can't remember what one it was. He said, "It's Dessers is doing what he's to do. It's other places that are the problem, and that's your season."
Yeah, I find I would love to know the source for that RFC 72 because that doesn't make any sense to me. Dessers has started the majority of games this season, and as poor as we've been, our win percentage is over 50%. Now, he had a spell when he was out the starting lineup and Hamza Egeman came in, and maybe we won 67% of those games. Fair, right? Whatever. I get that point. But to suggest that Cyril Dessers is the reason we don't win games of football, yes, at times he frustrates the life out of you. Should he score more? Of course he should score more. I'm not disputing that. It shouldn't have taken him 12 attempts against Dundee to put the ball in the back of the net. We all know that. And he was criticised for that, despite the fact he scored the last minute winner, which it was written in the stars that was going to happen that night, right? It just was. You can see a mile off that was happening. But the fact is, we have screamed and moaned and kicked about getting a striker that can score us 20 goals a season. Cyril Dessers has done it back-to-back seasons for us, and people don't want to give him credit for that.
Look at Scott
But
Kearney.
do you know what?
Look at Scott Kearney's point. Can you put that away? Well, Connor's giving you because it's exactly what he's saying there, except in a different way. Look at that.
Correct. Absolutely right. If you're Cyril Dessers, despite all the chances he misses, and I'm happy to have that conversation, you are entitled as a striker that scores 26 goals in a season as a top goal scorer in the country. You're entitled to feel you should have a winner's medal around your neck somewhere. And a lot of the reason that he doesn't, as Scott Kearney says, is because of the defence. The defence are the one leaking goals. It's not, we go through a period of time where we're 2-0 down in every game. I mean, that's on the defence. The defence has to be, but that has let us down this season more than Dessers, in my opinion.
But then
more criticism.
Folk might say back to you, Connor, but how many times has it been 0-0 and Dessers had a gilt-edged chance and he's missed it?
Right, but how many
Before
times
we went 2-0 down?
Agree, but how many times could you say that about Kearney?
No, I'm just pointing out
About Egeman, about Raskin. It happens. Again, Dessers needs to take more of his chances. If he did, he'd probably score about 40 goals, right? No mistake about it. But the reality is we have bought a player who, when he came to us, collectively, in the 3 prior seasons as a professional footballer, had barely made double digits in terms of goals that he had scored. He's came to us, he has improved. I think he has got better. You can never question Dessers' effort. He puts everything into it. He cares. And that's more than he can say for some of the players in the park, because there's some of them that don't care. Cyril Dessers cares. Now, is he good enough? Is he going to be the man next season that's going to lead the line again? Probably not. But I said it before, I'll say it again, I'm also not convinced, or not as convinced as others, that it's an absolute done deal that Cyril Dessers leaves Rangers Football Club in the summer. I think there's a chance he might just stick around, even if it's only till January. And if he does, we have to do what we do every season. We have to back him and support him. If he had, think about it, yes, he's missed guilty chances, but how many games have you also seen, Martin, where nothing goes to him? He's not getting the supply. We're just playing it side to side, and then when something does go, right, he's in that area. That's the thing as well, so I think there's a lot of layers to it for me, is what I'm saying. Yes, Dessers needs to do better in a lot of situations. The team need to do better at supplying him at times as well, and not just him, but Hamza and Drio as well when they've been playing. And the defence is a joke. The defence is see, unless you have Leon Balogun and Soapy playing the 90 minutes of every game, you're in trouble at Rangers with the defence right now. That's where we're at.
It was actually said last night that with John Souttar. John Souttar's no a playmaker type defender, a ball playing defender. John Souttar's a last man, a Harry Maguire at Leicester type defender. Ball comes into the box, he boots it away, and he needs somebody beside him who is a different type of defender for that to work. But we'll finish up on Nico Raskin. I've got a couple of super chats, so let's hear what you had to say, because I'm interested in what you guys have got to take.
The suspense is killing us here, Martin.
Got a draw here to end the season. What did you make of that game today?
What do I make? We know they were a good team. We started well, scoring a goal. Then something must be happening in the VAR, and they've not seen that we score a second one, and then they score one. So, yeah, it was a bit of a basketball, everybody attacking and counter-attacking, but it's that type of indices of games. So we wanted the win, and yeah, obviously we got a draw, but it's just going to be like now resting and looking forward to next season.
Yeah, that decision in the first half that you're talking about there, what was that from your point of view? Because obviously it was your shot and you were there.
Well, I thought it was goal, to be honest. But then I was doubting, and then I went to see the images at halftime, and I was like, wow, it's clearly a goal. And, again, strange decision. But we've got other 90 minutes to score another goal, so it's not because of that we've not win. But it's just like I say, it's just that type of end of the season game. And now it's just focus on next season and trying to do much better.
You did get a goal in the second half, another header. Talk us through that.
Yeah, I've been quite good with the header since I've been allowed to be in the box. So yeah, it's just I'm just happy, to score a goal and to add some decisive action to my game. It's been a good spell for me the last couple of games. So I just enjoy.
Is that something that you have been working on? Because obviously when the set pieces come in, you're maybe not the tallest person in there, but is that something that you've been working on?
No, I've not really been working on. I've been asking to go in for many time, and then at some point I remember Philippe Clement allows me to go in, and I was quite good, and they decided to keep me in. Yeah, because I'm a small guy. I'm not small, but because I'm maybe one of the smallest, the other boys, they all not expect me to go, or they just think I'm not good enough, or we have some big guys, so if they put a big on me, means one of our big guys is free. So at the end of they need to choose, and like I say, the delivery has been so good from Tav and Vach, so it's just a tap in.
It obviously has been a frustrating season for the squad, but for you personally, you must take quite a lot personally from your own season and the way you performed this season.
Yeah, but it's always a different taste when you don't win anything, So, but yeah, I've been quite enjoying myself. So it's been one of my best seasons so far. So yeah, I'm just trying to enjoy and trying to go look forward to win something with the team next season.
Yeah, for the squad now, is it just about going away and having that break and then coming back and refocusing ahead of a new season?
Yes, because it's been a tough season for us also, because we care as a team, we care a lot, and we couldn't achieve what we wanted. So it's been a tough season for us. But now it's just gonna be go away, refresh your mind, rest your body, and then come back with a different mindset and just think about, okay, what can we do to be successful? How can we do it? And then just go and do it.
Just go and do it. I like that, Kenny. I also like we need to get back to it next season, which tells me that he doesn't want to go anywhere. Obviously, look, you don't know what's going to happen in life. You don't know what's going to happen in football. But if you can sign that new deal, he's a player that, look, we need the player trading model to work, etc. We need to be selling players at their peak or whatever, or not every player, but players that are worth good money. He's a player I want at this football club, Kenny. He's the next captain of this football club. He's a player who can help us win things.
Yeah, he's an infectious wee guy, isn't he? And he knows with a wee cocky smile how good he's becoming and the level he's starting to reach. And I think if you're a professional and you're happy where you are and there's a big bit of news coming and there's going to be changes, I think he's quite happy to be part of that. Whether or not the board decide that 25, 30 million, whatever they come in with is just too good, his decision gets took away, which is really, really sad for a Rangers fan, because wee Nico's definitely grew on me. He's such a hard-working wee player. His skill's good. He's good in the air, which is crazy. He's only about 2'4", and
he's not a wee guy, according to him. No, he said, I'm not a wee guy.
He's a pit bull, and I always remember when he first came in, he was dead shy, wouldn't say much and all the rest of it. But that interview just epitomised what it is to play for Rangers. He looked happy, excited, smiling. I can't wait to next season. Let's see what happens. We just need to go and do this. What's going on? So yeah, as long as the board don't come in and start stripping the best players away at the moment, then I would be delighted for him to be at our football club, definitely, and build something around him.
Another header corner. What's going on?
I know, aye. Smallest man in the pitch, still getting up there and getting those. I tell you, he's got some leap on him. He can jump, can the boy? He gets up off that ground.
I just want to say he can jump, but he's no taller than me, right?
Well, Martin's height changes all the time, so who knows? But no, I'm surprised he doesn't get vertigo how high up he gets sometimes, actually, to be fair. But no, listen, fair play to the wee man. I personally think that if he stays in the summer, I think he's your captain next season, personally. I like the way he speaks. He doesn't shy away from it either, which has been a pet peeve of mine with Tav at times, where he just doesn't, he'll come out when you win a game, but he's no interested when you lose. That's no good leadership as a captain. I get that's not always his decision, but don't like it. And so if you keep him, I think you make him the captain next year. And you kind of go for there, in my opinion, because the work ethic him is incredible, and his improvement has been fantastic. It really has been. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for that, because I think at one point we were coming close to writing Nico Raskin off.
Yeah, we were.
And he is absolutely proven us wrong where that's concerned. You have to say, I think him and Yanis Hadji, to be fair to them both this season, kind of swayed people in a different direction than where it looked like it was going before it. So fair play. But no, I just love the wee man. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah, he absolutely is. Right, Gaz, trying to remember. Glad the season's over, but we follow. We will. Yes, we will. Big Brian, roll on the new season. Obviously, it means God bless, but I'm going to say God bless the 49ers. And Michael Sharon has just thrown in a £10 super chat there as well. Thank you very much, Michael. But going on what Gaz and what Brian is saying, Kenny, we'll finish up on this. I promise you can all go home soon or go back to what you were doing soon. Roll on the new season, Kenny. That's what it's all about now. That's it. Season's done. There's another season wrapped up. We move on. Takeover coming. 49ers coming in. Big changes happening at the football club. We can try now, if we can, get rid of the negativity of what's been a horrendous season and look forward to what's going to hopefully be happening.
Yeah, and again, I'll not go long-winded on it. Just can't wait to see what the next chapter of Rangers Football Club is potentially going to be. I think we know what it's going to be. The guy doesn't sit in the stands with the guys week in, week out unless it wasn't done. So I can't wait. I actually can't wait to see what the blueprint is. It's going to be nice to have a decent transfer kitty once in a while. It would be even better to have a manager to spend it. That would be good if we could announce that soon. And just jump onto the wave, guys, and just enjoy the blue wave for a wee while rather than it being under the wave. We're going to be on top of it for a wee while and it's nice.
I think you said wave too many times there. That's shocking behaviour.
Yes, Connor.
That's shocking behaviour. But Connor, I'll give the final word to you then. It's going to be nice, hopefully, right? Because when Rangers fans get together in any way, shape, or form, all we do is argue, right? But it's going to be nice, hopefully, with the summer that's coming, with the changes that are coming, that we can maybe, I don't want to say it too loudly, think positive.
Yeah, I silent positive. Yeah, look, we can. At the end of the day, it's going to be a busy summer. A very busy summer. There's a lot of work needing done. The takeover will get announced. A new manager obviously needs to get announced. I imagine the takeover gets announced first, and then the manager probably. That would just make sense to me. And then you've got players that need to get out the building and off the wage bill, and then players that need to come. We need to sign and bring in better quality. So it's going to be a real summer of building, a summer of ins and outs, and it's going to be busy, which is good for us, Martin, because that means plenty of content for us to talk about.
Yes, what can I say? Thank God there's a takeover for more than one reason,
Yeah, but we can certainly.
Who's playing
what the
music?
fuck was that? Oh, yeah.
Hey, we'll get demonetized for that song.
I was going to say about the copyright strike, but yeah, listen. Great. It might not get copyrighted because it's the American national anthem, isn't it? So,
Exactly. I'm all right with that.
Aye. No, I'm looking forward certainly to see what the summer brings and see, in the late July when the pre-season starts to kick off, and then obviously we've got Champions League qualifiers around earlier as well. So it's an early start. to the new campaign. But very excited to see how it looks to then. And I'll lastly just say absolutely all the very best of luck to the women tomorrow.
Yes.
Let's hope that they bring that title back into the Ibrox trophy room. That would be nice, at least if the women could end in a high. And of course, they could still win a treble this year as well. So that would be incredible. But good luck to them.
Absolutely. 100%. Well said. Right, folks, this is your final post-match reaction of the season. So thank you for sticking with us all season. Thank you for all your support that you've given us. We're not going anywhere. As I can just tell you before I go, it depends on when you're listening to this, Man City have just missed a penalty in the FA Cup final. It is still 1-0 to Crystal Palace. But listen, thank you very much for all your support this season. It's greatly appreciated. Like I say, we aren't going anywhere. Our Monday and Friday night shows will still be going. Our Monday to Friday afternoon rabbles will still be on. And we do need your support and you to keep watching and keep giving us ideas for content, because I'm not that bright. But Connor, Kenny, thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you for all the super chats as well today, guys. Greatly appreciated. Alchemist, thank you for gifting 5 Rangers Rabble memberships. Very kind of you. And yeah, we're back for members tomorrow with a random rabble. Tomorrow night for the SPFL show, myself and Connor will be live on public YouTube at 8 p.m. And then, as usual, it's programming as usual, folks. We're not going anywhere. So thank you very much for tuning in. Again, thank you, Kenny. Thank you, Connor. And we shall speak very, very soon.